Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to all our viewers. My name is Emanuele Barrasso. As you might know me by now, I'm the UK Secretary of the Roosevelt Movement. Welcome to a new episode of Updates from London, our sort of UK slot of what we sort of trying to of our weekly slot of all our videos. Although the movement actually was founded in Italy, so most of our videos, as you might have seen on the website, are all in Italian. We've also inaugurated a few videos ago with Marco Moiso, the Vice President of the Roosevelt Movement, to whom we wave from far, our sort of new slot of videos for the UK, for our UK public. Welcome. In all our videos, we will try to analyze, I guess, one piece of news which has been paramount over the past 7 days. We'll try to keep all our sort of weekly slot on the same day, although sometimes sort of a Wednesday, maybe on a Friday, or these are sort of the days in which will be sometimes actually the connection can can play up. Utterly sorry about this. Hopefully, sort of you'll be able to see me now. Yeah, I'll have to switch devices. Anyway, this is what happens. The beauty of our live streaming. As I said to you, in all these videos, we'll be talking about different topics, and the topic for this week is the economy. We'll present updates from London, from the UK, and this week I want to talk to you about the economy. How is the UK economy doing in the face of the coronavirus crisis? Are we doing well? Is there any signs of recovery? And I can honestly say that, by sort of having a look at different sort of websites and news bulletin, that the UK economy is well. We started on Monday morning with this kind of major headline saying, oh my God, the UK economy has shrunk by 20.4%. We've lost 600,000 jobs. And since the start of the terrible coronavirus crisis, and the coronavirus crisis, for all this sort of reason, for all this, for all the consequences, being incredibly, it's been such a tragic, sad events for from economic perspective, also from a social perspective, from a human perspective. It has affected livelihoods all around the country, all around the world. The news is that the economy is actually slowing, is showing signs of advancement. So although the sort of news cycle at the end of this week was incredibly positive, the economy shrunk by 20.4%, and 600,000 jobs were lost. We got to yesterday, and there was an incredible piece of news which I really want to draw your attention to. And several media reports, several media reported it. And in the news is that the Bank of England pumps another 100 billion pounds into the UK economy to aid recovery. This is an amazing point of news. If we go back a few videos, like video number 2, Marco Moiso, the vice president of the Russell movement, and myself, we talk about the shift that has been in the UK economy since the start of the coronavirus crisis. Up until that point, and I really urge you all, invite you all to see the video number 2, titled "Post-COVID World." We see that the way countries, in this particular case, the UK, was financing them. Be bought by financial institutions in exchange for an interest. What has happened since the start of the coronavirus? That the Bank of England, we can call actually the main sort of economic institution here in the UK, has basically created money in a practice that we might call, actually in economical term, they call quantitative easing. They've created money to buy bonds directly from the Treasury, and of course, to buy bonds directly from the Treasury. So the interest will go back to the Bank of England, and in turn to the UK as a whole. This kind of movement as it represented like a break from the past. In a way, let's also go back a few steps. We, the Russell movement, UK, believe we go against a neoliberal concept of the economy. When we talk about neoliberalism, you will see tons of articles on the internet. Is a word that needs to be repeated over and over again because people need to understand where the term comes from. We're not just talking about economic theory. Neoliberalism permeates through politics, economy, of course, the social life. It affects people's lives and their livelihoods. The basic definition of neoliberalism is a separation of state, of the government, from the market. So you have to leave the market free to do whatever it pleases with no intervention from the government. That's sort of the simple definition. Because also the role of the government, according to sort of neoliberal fashion, is seen as oppressive, as crushing individualism, which, according to the neoliberal theory, is important for society to thrive. Individualism, your individual, let's say, individual enthusiasm, your individual, will to do well for yourself, hence to do good for society as a whole. The neoliberalism is basically this kind of concept when this government does not intervene. So in terms of, we in video number 2, we've sort of made a difference from in between Italy and the UK. How Italy, because it's the country where the movement is from, was founded over 5 years ago, and also fighting the coronavirus crisis. Whereas in Italy, they were still talking about lines of credit. They were they were going directly to the banks to, in a way, they were talking directly to the banks in terms of line of credits, which basically means repaying with an interest. What the UK has done, and we can see the recovery so far, hence my sort of news from yesterday and also today, that there have been a few media reporting it as well. The Bank of England has pumped another £100 billion into the economy to buy bonds directly from the Treasury. As I said, this move has been unprecedented. Also going against the current economical trend, which again, I repeat, is neoliberal. I guess I've seen this kind of news with a lot of enthusiasm, because in a time of dramatic and incredibly tragic from a social and people's point of view, the government, I guess, jumps in to to rescue the situation. And also in the UK, we have to, because the UK has monetary sovereignty through the Bank of England, the Bank of England, through quantitative easing, has created, let's say, I'm not going to dwell too much on the terms, but again, quantitative easing is another practice which you can find whose definition you can find sort of anywhere, and it's pumped another 100 billion to the economy to aid recovery, and also to increase the size of its bond buying program. So if you consider since March, since the start of the crisis, if we want to put the crisis on March, we can say that the UK has pumped into the economy about 745 billion pounds. The Bank of England has pumped around 750 billion pounds to aid recovery, and also for to buy bonds directly from the Treasury. This is an amazing, it's been an amazing way for the Bank of England to actually take action against this tragic, I guess, and terrible situation. There was an interview yesterday. Andrew Bailey, the new governor of England, I'm saying new because he actually stepped in March. Well, he surely did have like a baptism of fire when he got in. He took the reins of the Bank of England from Mark Carney, another name the new guy might remember, and so he was thrown into the deep end, and again sort of decided on on this on this new policy. So the Bank of England actually voted yesterday to increase the size of its bond buying program, A21. Why? Because again, if you guys look at video number 2, Marco explains how sort of the Bank of England decides on its monetary policies. Up until 1997, the Bank of England used to depend upon the UK Parliament, and then sort of Tony Blair stepped in, and then created the so-called Commission of the Nine people. 5 are expression of the Bank of England, 4 are expression of the UK government. And again, I urge you all to see that video. So 8 against 1 have decided to increase the bond. I think it is really important, and we've seen around. I guess many we've seen around. I'm not. It's probably saying winds of change is probably too big a term, but this is again it's been an unprecedented move by the Bank of England to rescue, to aid. Actually, you can see the video. You can see the sort of the title there. It's a beautiful article on I guess on the Guardian. It was reported on the Guardian and also on other news channel. Again, it's although they say that the UK is going to head towards like a sharp recession. By the end of the year, the economy should shrink by sort of an overall about 8%. There are signs of sort of advancement. There are signs of recovery, and I guess the figures for Q2 and Q3 show signs of recovery. We also, let me just tell you something about the rules for movement. We believe in a Keynesian, from John Maynard Keynes, the great English economist, actually, Keynesian model of the economy. So we believe that demand can only sort of, the economy can boost it by strong demand. So in a way, the government has to step in to create this demand, to create also the conditions of this demand, so the whole society and the economy can thrive. So again, we'll see next all the other means that the UK government is in place. For everyone's out there, I know that some of you might be familiar with it. Some others might not be familiar because of this sort of the bond buying scheme by the Bank of England. The UK has been able to do like a scheme, like a furlough scheme, which in Italy we call it cassa integrazione. So people who are who were made the people were not technically laid off. So the state would pay 80% of their salary. The same furlough scheme, which will last until October. Although it might have slightly changed from August, September, and October, the state will not pay anymore 80% of the salary, but it will go down to 60%. And then the companies for which you've been sort of put to rest for the time being will pay you towards your salary 20%. So let's see where this goes. In terms of signs, the UK economy is showing signs of recovery. How much this recovery will actually last, it's a very hard question to answer. Why is that? Because it all depend. We've seen the images of past few days of people queuing around all sort of the main because shops have reopened since last Monday. Non-essential shop I'm talking about. So people were queuing. Of course, had some security measures had to be put in place, like the 2-meter distance, social distance, and so on and so forth. And of course, it will all depend. The recovery will continue if there's no thing, touch wood, God forbid, another second wave of coronavirus. Also depends how with speed will the lockdown be lifted, and also so it will depend on a number of factors. It's very hard for us to actually come here and say yes. I cannot. From what I can see, I can say that we are on the right track. How and probably the recovery will happen more quickly than we've expected. Again, it has to be like a will from the government, which we've seen so far, to finance, to step in when necessary, and possibly even extend the furlough scheme. But we don't know that at the moment. For the time being, the furlough scheme is up until October. So unless all these sort of requirements are met, it's very hard to yes, you can see actually on the screen on like BBC News all sort of these articles I'm talking about. So under these requirements are met, it's very hard to give a definitive answer. But I can honestly say from our perspective, from which they will be lifted, and also what's going to happen. Let me just end briefly talking about our rules movement. The rules movement, as I said, as we said previously as well in our previous videos, is a democratic, progressive, social liberal movement. We've got a Keynesian, because we're talking about economy today. Briefly, we've got a Keynesian sort of view of the economy. So the government, in a way, the government contribute to demand, to boost demand, and also to create a society which is fair for all. We've started this wave of videos called Updates from London, which will carry on weekly, and also the we've got a Facebook page, Muslim Movement UK, which we try to update, with, please join us. We will update with articles, with interviews, and also, our main Italian office also has a Facebook page, Momento Roosevelt Italia. If you can speak Italian, there are loads of everyday videos on, on different topics, not just economy, also not just politics, but also, health, education, and so on and so forth. So come and see us. Come and watch our what we have to say on society. Come and understand also what we think the government should do, and society should be like. We of course we So we welcome people with different opinions. We're all for debating and exchanging opinions, and of course we're all for a society which is democratic for all. As I say, we're also on our website called www.rm-london.co.uk, which you can see all our principles and our sort of ideals. We also have a blog which we try to fill in with all our sort of thoughts and opinions, and hope this week's video has been sort of useful in understanding how the sort of UK is faring towards recovery. We've tried to show you some of these articles and BBC, Guardian, but we are on the right track. More needs to be done, but again, I'll urge you to see video number 2, in which we do a little difference in which how different countries, UK and Italy, have sort of faced the crisis. And that's all for this week. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. And yeah, take care of yourself. Bye bye.
So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed effort to convert retreat into advance.